The war is coming, not just the one overseas, but the one at home. The Yellowstone Ranch is no longer a place of peace or legacy, it's a battleground. And at the center of it all stands an aging Spencer Dutton haunted by his past and threatened by the next generation. But he's not alone. Tiana Rainwater returns with scars the world still doesn't understand, and a child born of Jack Dutton may challenge the very bloodline Spencer's trying to protect. The new prequel series, Yellowstone 1944, is more than a continuation. It's the most devastating chapter yet. The dust from 1923 hasn't even settled, and yet we're already stepping into the storm that is 1944. While the pain of losing Jack and Alexandra still lingers in the hearts of fans, the Yellowstone franchise wastes no time pulling us deeper into the chaos of the Dutton family legacy. This time, the world itself is at war. World War II rages across continents, and the Duttons, they're fighting a war of their own right on the soil their ancestors died to protect. It's not just about cattle and land anymore, it's about survival and inheritance. According to recent updates from Taylor Sheridan's team, Yellowstone 1944 will pick up exactly where 1923 left us emotionally wrecked. The ranch is leaderless, the bloodline is fragile, and the world has changed. The latest reports confirm that Spencer Dutton will be the emotional backbone of this new series. No longer the wild, impulsive hunter we once knew, Spencer is now older, colder, and more tormented than ever. Decades after losing his brother and Alexandra and surviving a war that has scarred him twice, he's returned to Yellowstone not just to protect the land, but to face his deepest regrets. But here's where things get even more intense. Insiders have leaked that Spencer will not be alone in this struggle. A new generation of Duttons is rising, and they're not all on the same side. Remember Elizabeth Dutton's unborn child in 1923? He's all grown up now. Raised away from the ranch, shaped by the bitterness of losing a father he never knew, he returns to Montana with one thing in mind: claiming what's his. That means Spencer's hold on the ranch? It's about to be tested. Family will turn on family, cousins will become enemies. And in the shadows of war, the Dutton name might collapse from within. Now let's talk about Tiana Rainwater. After everything she endured in 1923, her silence has been deafening. But in 1944, she returns, and this time she's not running. Rumors suggest Tiana's path will be deeply connected to the roots of the Rainwater legacy. She may not carry the Dutton name, but her fight for survival and justice will clash with theirs in ways we never expected. Her story could be the key to understanding the future of the Yellowstone Reservation. She's older, stronger, and guided by her ancestors. And if you think she's finished suffering, think again. Tiana's war is just beginning. In an emotional twist, 1944 also places a heavy spotlight on Spencer's son, John. Born in the final moments of 1923, John now faces the same questions that haunted his father. What does it mean to be a Dutton? To fight for a ranch soaked in blood? The pressure to live up to Spencer's name is immense, and the consequences of failure? Even worse. Sources say John may be sent to war, following in Spencer's footsteps, but unlike his father, he might not return whole. The trauma of World War II. The expectations of the ranch and the weight of family secrets will all come crashing down on him in this series. Meanwhile, new casting leaks are flooding the internet. Most shocking of all, Kurt Russell is reportedly locked in to play the older Spencer Dutton. Yes, you heard that right. The man behind the Hateful Eight tombstone and Bone Tomahawk, a Western legend, is about to take the reins of the Dutton patriarch. Fans are divided, but Sheridan believes Russell's weathered grit is exactly what Spencer's arc needs. And honestly, he might be right. Brandon Sklenar made us fall in love with the younger Spencer, but 1944 demands a version of him who's endured even more pain, more war, and more loss than we can imagine. Other rumored cast additions include rising star Diego Calva as a mysterious newcomer connected to Tiana's journey, and Florence Pugh as a government agent with ties to the ranch's past. It's clear that 1944 isn't just about family, it's about enemies, secrets, and survival in a world falling apart. And while the ranch stands firm, the people who defend it, they're breaking. The emotional weight of 1944 already feels heavier than anything Yellowstone has given us before. And with Sheridan's signature storytelling, slow burns, brutal twists, and gut-wrenching deaths, we're preparing for the worst. Because unlike the past, this time, everyone is in danger. Spencer Dutton is not the same man we met in 1923. Time, war, and loss have reshaped him into someone colder, quieter, and dangerously unpredictable. In Yellowstone 1944, he isn't a romantic hero chasing love across continents. He's a battle-scarred patriarch trying to keep his family from tearing itself apart. The decades since the death of Alexandra have carved deep wounds into Spencer's soul. He's buried comrades, buried dreams, and now he's the last true Dutton left standing. The ranch is his, but so is the weight of every sacrifice made to keep it. And here's where it gets complicated. While Spencer still commands respect, there's a new energy rising at Yellowstone. Young blood that isn't content to let the past rule the future. His son John is growing restless. He doesn't understand why his father is so haunted, why the land is treated like a battlefield, or why the Dutton name comes with so much silence and pain. And worse, there are whispers that Jack Dutton's son, the child Elizabeth carried when 1923 ended, has returned, and he's not coming back to reunite the family. He's coming for control. Think about that for a second. 2 branches of the Dutton tree. One raised under Spencer's quiet rage. The other raised far from the ranch, hardened by bitterness, vengeance, and a desire to claim what was denied to him. These men are cousins by blood, but strangers by experience. One trained to defend the land, the other determined to take it. And as the threat of war looms larger than ever, the battle between them could decide the fate of Yellowstone Ranch forever. Meanwhile, Spencer is being pulled in every direction. He's expected to lead the ranch, keep the peace, and prepare his son for a world that no longer plays by the old rules. But how do you raise a son when your own heart is still buried with the woman you lost? How do you protect a legacy when the people around you are ready to rip it apart? The emotional core of Spencer's arc in 1944 will not be about power. It will be about guilt, grief, and the impossibility of living up to the past. And if Kurt Russell is truly stepping into this role, fans should prepare themselves for a performance that is raw, unforgiving, and absolutely devastating. Russell knows how to play broken men with steel in their veins, and that's exactly what Spencer Dutton has become. Behind the cowboy hat, behind the hardened stare, there's a man who lost everything, and now he has to pretend it's all still worth saving. But maybe the most haunting part of Spencer's journey will be the question he can't stop asking himself. Is this land cursed? He's seen too much blood spill over it. Too many graves dug for people who tried to protect it. And now, with another war threatening to swallow his son and a family feud brewing just beneath the surface, Spencer will be forced to make one final decision. Fight for the land one last time, or finally walk away and let the next generation burn it down. Either way, 1944 is setting the stage for a tragic, unforgettable end to one of the most complex characters in the entire Yellowstone universe. Spencer Dutton's final stand is coming, and it might be the most heartbreaking chapter of them all. Tiana Rainwater's story in 1923 was already one of the most powerful and painful arcs in the Yellowstone universe. But in 1944, her journey is about to grow even darker, even more dangerous. When we last saw her, she had escaped the brutal grip of the Catholic boarding schools, fled across the wild with the help of Hank and Pete, and found a sliver of freedom. But peace was never promised. Tiana's survival came at a cost. Her body is scarred, her heart carries unspeakable pain, and she's lost nearly everything she ever knew. But now, 1944 picks up years later, and Tiana has become something the world didn't see coming, a force. Not just a survivor, not just a symbol of resilience, but a woman carrying generations of trauma and truth on her back. The world around her has changed, but not in the ways that matter. Native families are still being displaced, their land taken under the guise of government protection, and their stories erased by silence. Tiana has returned, but she's not going back to the shadows. This time she's bringing the fight to them. In 1944, she's older, wiser, and far more dangerous than the girl we once knew. She's connected now, perhaps leading her own resistance in the Southwest, or maybe she's made her way to California or Mexico, as hinted in 1923. But something, or someone, pulls her back. And it's not just about her own past anymore. It's about the future. The Rainwater line is on the verge of something pivotal, and Tiana might be the missing link between generations. There's a theory floating around, and it's impossible to ignore Tiana as Thomas Rainwater's grandmother. The math checks out, the cultural echoes are there, and the emotional connection would be staggering. Imagine watching Tiana fight for her people, knowing that her courage and pain will shape a man like Thomas Rainwater decades later in the flagship Yellowstone series. This isn't just legacy, it's prophecy. But it won't be easy. Tiana's reappearance could spark political fury, ignite racial tensions, and throw her directly into the path of government agents, oil men, and settlers who want her silenced. And that's where 1944 could really break us. Because Tiana doesn't have the protection of the Duttons. She's not living on inherited land with a family legacy to shield her. She's standing alone against systems built to erase her. And if she dies in this fight, it will not be quiet. Amina Neves, who portrayed Tiana in 1923, has already expressed her desire to continue the role. And if 1944 allows her to fully explore the depths of Tiana's evolution, from a hunted girl to a warrior woman, this could be one of the most unforgettable performances in the entire franchise. And there's something poetic about it. While the Duttons fight over who gets to own the land, Tiana fights to protect it for everyone. Her story won't be about greed or inheritance. It'll be about survival, justice, and identity. And that's what makes her arc in 1944 so crucial. She isn't just another side character anymore. She's a storm, and when she returns, she'll carry with her the voice of every ancestor silenced before her. Yellowstone fans better prepare themselves because Tiana's not done yet. In fact, her most important battle may have only just begun. But if Tiana's story is the heart of 1944, the soul of the series still belongs to the Dutton family, and the legacy of the Yellowstone Ranch is hanging by a thread. With Jack and Alexandra gone, Elizabeth widowed and pregnant, and Jacob and Kara's chapter seemingly closed, all eyes are on one man, Spencer Dutton. And yet, even he might not be enough to hold it all together. Because in 1944, the real threat isn't coming from outside invaders or violent rivals, it's coming from within the bloodline. And it starts with Spencer's own son. That's right. In the 1923 finale, we learned that Spencer and Alexandra had a son, John Dutton, the earliest known ancestor of the modern Dutton family. He was just a baby, then born into grief and war, but in 1944, that child will be a grown man. And not just any man. A soldier, a fighter, and maybe someone Spencer can no longer control. This is where 1944 becomes deeply personal, even haunting, because Spencer, once the wild adventurer and fearless warrior, now finds himself in the position Jacob once held, trying to prepare the next generation to carry the burden of the ranch. But unlike Jacob, Spencer doesn't lead with fear or dominance. He leads with pain. He's seen death war betrayal. He's lost the love of his life and been exiled from the land he was born to protect. And now his son is walking down that same path, a path toward bloodshed, toward sacrifice, toward either greatness or destruction. Behind the scenes, there's already buzz that 1944 will show Spencer's son returning home from World War II with his own scars. Mental, emotional, maybe even physical. PTSD wasn't understood back then, and a Dutton man suffering from invisible wounds could become volatile. Some rumors say he'll clash with a cousin, possibly Elizabeth's son, and that their feud will turn deadly. One Dutton will live, one will die, and the land will be soaked in Dutton blood once again. It's a terrifying concept that the Yellowstone Ranch, so often defended from outsiders, might be destroyed from within. But it's also deeply fitting for a series like Yellowstone, where loyalty is never guaranteed and power always comes at a cost. The idea that Spencer may have to choose between his legacy and his son is enough to rip us apart. And if that son, John Dutton, survives, he will become the foundation of everything we've seen in the present-day Yellowstone series. That makes 1944 not just a story about the past, but the keystone of the entire franchise's timeline. Everything rides on Spencer's ability to hold his family together. But what if he can't? What if the war outside mirrors the war inside their home? What if father and son go from allies to enemies? And what if, in the end, the ranch doesn't survive them both? Kurt Russell's rumored casting as older Spencer adds even more emotional weight to this arc. Imagine the weathered face of a man who's lost too much, watching his only son unravel before him. Imagine Brandon Sklenar returning in flashbacks, haunting the edges of memory. This won't be just a family drama, it'll be a tragedy. The kind that reshapes everything we thought we knew about the Dutton legacy. 1944 is not just another prequel, it's the reckoning. And Spencer's son, he might be the one who saves or destroys it all. As we move deeper into 1944, it becomes clear that the Duttons are on the brink of a new chapter, one far darker and more complex than anything we've seen before. War has already defined Spencer's life, but the world around him is about to change in ways that could bring his greatest fears to life. World War II is raging across the globe, and it's not just the men fighting on foreign soil who are being affected. This war will hit home. The Dutton Ranch, once an emblem of power and stability, is now a battleground in its own right, with family members caught in a deadly game of survival. Spencer, still haunted by the horrors he faced as a soldier, now has to confront the growing tension within his own bloodline. As the war abroad reaches its peak, the battle at home becomes just as fierce. The question on everyone's mind is not just about who will control the land, but who will survive to inherit it. The Dutton legacy is tied to the ranch, but that legacy is not as secure as it once seemed. With Jack's death, the line of succession grows even more uncertain. Elizabeth, still grieving the loss of her husband, is now left to navigate her pregnancy and what her child's role will be in this new world. While some believe that her son will carry the torch, there's a real threat that his existence could tear the family apart. If Spencer's son grows up to be as haunted and ruthless as his father, their relationship could deteriorate into something far more dangerous than anything the Duttons have faced before. Blood ties won't save them from the storm on the horizon, and 1944 will prove that loyalty can quickly turn to betrayal. The complexity of this family dynamic is only amplified by the outside forces closing in. In addition to the war, the Duttons must face the rising power of outside enemies, ranchers, corporate interests, and even the federal government, who are all eyeing the land Spencer and his family have fought to protect for generations. The tension between maintaining the ranch as a family legacy and adapting to a changing world is one of the central conflicts of 1944. In this time of global upheaval, the Duttons are forced to reckon with their own identity. Are they warriors, landowners, or something darker, something more destructive? The possibility of betrayal looms large. There's a quiet whisper that Spencer's son could betray his own family in order to seize control of the ranch, perhaps even turning against Spencer himself. If the young Dutton inherits the land, how far will he go to claim his birthright? Will he prove to be a true heir to the Dutton legacy, or will he fracture it beyond repair? And in the midst of it all, Spencer, already broken by the death of his beloved Alexandra and the horrors of war, must find a way to protect the family he has left. But can he? The stakes have never been higher. 1944 will take us to the edge of despair, showing us how fragile the Dutton legacy really is. And in the end, we may be left questioning whether the ranch is truly worth saving. In the final moments of 1944, the legacy of the Duttons will be redefined, setting the stage for everything we know in Yellowstone. With so much turmoil both within the family and the world around them, 1944 promises to deliver a conclusion that will both shock and devastate. What we've seen so far in the Dutton timeline, the violence, the passion, the betrayal, has been nothing compared to what's coming. The war, the bloodshed, and the unraveling of the Dutton family tree will leave us breathless. Spencer and his son's fractured relationship will be at the heart of it all, but it won't be the only story that captivates us. 1944 will also be about redemption, about finding strength in the darkest moments, and about what happens when a family is pushed to its breaking point. For Spencer, the weight of the ranch is becoming too much to bear. The years of grief, loss, and war have left him a broken man. But just when we think he might give up, when it seems like the Dutton legacy is on the verge of collapse, something shifts. Spencer's journey will be one of personal redemption. The war outside, though brutal, will mirror his own internal battle. 1944 is about healing from old wounds, whether they're physical or emotional, and learning to fight for something worth saving. Spencer will have to confront his demons, his fear of losing everything, his regret over the past. And in doing so, he might just find a way to preserve what's left of the family he loves. As for the Dutton Ranch, its future is in jeopardy. The land that has stood for so long as a symbol of power and legacy may no longer be in the hands of the Duttons by the end of 1944. The young generation is rising, and they don't share the same reverence for the land or the family's history. Spencer's son, the heir to the Dutton name, may not have the same loyalty to the ranch as his father did. And if he does, will it be enough to keep the family together? The shocking twists we'll witness in the final moments of 1944 will leave us questioning the very foundation of everything we thought we knew about the Duttons. But even with all the devastation, 1944 will end with a sense of rebirth. It will show us the beginning of the future we see in Yellowstone, the rise of the Duttons as we know them today, the creation of the Dutton dynasty that will eventually stretch through to John Dutton in the modern era. The past may have been filled with bloodshed and heartache, but in the end, the Duttons will find a way to rise again, just as they always do. The series will take us through the darkest moments of the Dutton family history, only to end with a glimmer of hope for what's to come. When the dust settles on 1944, the echoes of the past will reverberate throughout the Yellowstone universe, and we will finally understand just how deeply the Dutton legacy is tied to this moment in time. As the family stands at the crossroads of its future, we will be left asking, what price will the Duttons pay to keep their ranch? What sacrifices are they willing to make for their land and their legacy? The journey that began with 1923 will reach its devastating conclusion in 1944, and the Duttons as we know them will be changed forever. Get ready, because 1944 isn't just a prequel, it's the catalyst for everything that comes after. And when it's over, nothing will be the same again.